Hello and welcome to Daily Politics, reaching you from Trust TV here in Abuja. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. My name is Suleiman Suleiman. The National Executive Committee, that is the NEC of the All Progressives Congress, that is the APC, met today in Abuja to discuss, among other things, to ratify the date of the presidential primaries ahead of the 2023 general elections. The meeting ratified May 30th and 31st for the presidential elections and May 18 for governorship primary elections. This was the first NEC meeting of the ruling party since the emergence of the Senator Abdullahi Adamu-led National Working Committee of the party, which was elected 3 weeks ago on March 26, 2022. The party also announced sales of nomination and expression of interest forms for various elective offices in the country, commencing or set to commence Saturday this weekend. But indications are that aspirants for the presidency will pay a total of 100 million naira for both nomination and expression of interest forms. Let me take that again. 100 million naira to vie for the office of the president under the ruling party. For the governorship election, that cost is 50 million naira. Aspirants for senatorial election must also cough out 20 million naira, and for the office of House of Representatives and House of Assembly will cough out 10 million naira and 2 million naira respectively. Meanwhile, the number of candidates who have contested for the presidency has been growing steadily day by day. Stalwarts like Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Asiwaji Bola Tinubu, Chief Justice Okorocha, Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi, Minister of Labor and Productivity Chris Ngige, Senate Chief Whip Senator Oji Uzo Kalu, and Malang Adamu Garba, among others, have all declared their interest to run for the office of the president under the APC. Of course, tens of other aspirants have also declared interest for other offices, such as the governorship, senatorial, and all other levels of the election. So tonight we ask, is the APC heading in the right direction towards its primaries? How will it manage issues arising from the primary? And above all, are elective positions on sale in the party? With me to discuss these issues are APC insiders. I have with me Professor Nasir Musa Yauri, Professor of Economic Management at Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, and also Al-Qalam University in Katsina. Professor Yauri is also the chairman of Sub-Saharan think tank. Also joining me on Skype is Mr. Abolaji Albert, who is the National Publicity Secretary for one of the Tinubu support organizations and also Special Advisor on Strategy and Information, Tinubu Support Organization. Welcome to Daily Politics, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Madam Suleiman.
Welcome, Mr. Albert. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, it's breaking, but I think I can manage.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah. So, but before we jump into these discussions, we'll take a moment's break. When we return, we'll be right here for you. You'll be there for us as well. Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and we're looking at issues around the APC, that is the ruling party, as we head towards the primary elections. And with me, two APC insiders. So it's just natural for me to start with you right here in the studio, Prof. These issues of nomination, maybe we should start there. Okay. What's the motivation? What's the idea behind 100 million nomination for the presidency? Is the presidency for sale?
Thank you, Malam Suleiman. I think it would be right to say that it is extremely difficult for any ordinary member of the APC to imagine why either the NEC or the National Working Committee decided on a very huge amount. You will recall that in 2015, the amount for nomination, I think an expression of interest for the presidency was at 45 million. And that also generated a lot of outcry. Ordinarily, the common conclusion will be that charging such a huge amount for expression of interest and nomination form will certainly exclude very eligible and good candidates from the contest. On the other hand, I'm sure those who only view politics from the purview of election and winning may think that it is proper to charge such high amount to exclude, or to stop the contest, especially at the primaries, from being overcrowded by contestants. But on the whole, and I think within the domain of politics, I don't think it is healthy for any political party, not just APC, to charge such an exorbitant price for nomination and expression of interest.
Thank you. So maybe let me call that a professor's view. Now, maybe the party insider's view. We have had about 8 to 10 candidates so far in the party. People who have been ministers, governors, vice presidents, and so on and so forth. Do you think any one of them will have problems in generating that fund, that amount of money for nomination?
Honestly, I don't know. But presumably, I think it is right to say that at least the majority of the contestants will be able to pay. I have no doubt about that.
They won't have any problem paying?
They may not wish that such an amount is charged, but certainly a sizable number of them will be able to pay.
Interesting. Mr. Abolaji, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Very
very good. Now, for as a party member, what's your opinion regarding this amount, particularly not just for the presidency, but other offices? House of Reps, 10 million. House of Assembly, State House of Assembly, which is an office for young people who are having their first shot at elective offices. So 2 million naira, which for people like your presidential candidate may not be a lot of money, but for millions or thousands of Nigerians who are interested in those offices will be a lot of money. What's your reaction to this?
Good evening once again, and thank you for having me here. You have raised a very valid question with this, because everyone understands the economy we are going through right now. So once we put such exorbitant prices on the donation forms, even though someone like me, I wasn't expecting, it didn't come to me as a surprise, but for the demographic which we represent, and the kind of organizations which it's normal for us and ordinary Nigerians to raise eyebrows. But we must remember that in Nigeria alone, we have over 176,000 units. So the logistics and all these things, the parties are using this as a means, one of the means of raising funds. These funds are not going into personal accounts. These funds are going to be used towards, all the activities they are going to be having. So, yes, it's a lot. Yes, the figures are high, but at this stage in our political, history, it's one of the things we have to go through. But we can't just look at the amount like that. We have to look back at the concessions that were made for the youths, for people with disabilities. There were some concessions made. So we have to.
How do we balance? Yes. Because yes, how do we balance the justification you have provided now about parties raising funds for campaign activities with the issue that Professor Yauri raised earlier, that of the access, that eligible candidates will be muzzled out of the race, which may not just be bad for the party, but for the country as a whole, because the country will be denied their opportunity, their ideas, and their abilities. So how do you balance that in terms of balance the two? as a party member.
Okay. Okay. Well, the prof is extremely right because, if there was someone like me who was actually thinking of running for any office, the press is going to, push me back a bit. But at the end of the day, it's the people who we know, who we have in mind that are supposed to, run for office. It is something they can actually come up with, not just them directly. We have a lot of candidates or contestants, aspirants who are vying for different offices. They have people. There are different ways of raising funds now. You have all this GoFundMe here and there. And now I can give you this information for free just tonight. One of the organization where I am special advisor on strategy and information, Tinubu Support Organization, where the Director General is Honorable Aminu Suleiman. He say, the organization is going to pay for the party form, the nomination form for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He has just signed a check of 100 million naira. This is just, this news is less than 30 minutes old. So you can go and confirm. So I expect that others as well. When we have candidates we believe in, I don't think there will be any amount too little for us, to actually come together and contribute, to support them, to show the parties that we are serious, we want this person, and we will do whatever it takes to make sure that this person can afford this, the fees that have been stated. Nevertheless, the amounts are on the high side, but the party hierarchy has taken a decision.
The amounts are on the high side, but if some organizations can afford it, no problem. Is that what we are saying?
No problem, sir, exactly.
All right, thank you. So, Prof, the issue of access is one thing. Issue of fundraising is another, because that's, to be honest, that's one of the ways in which Nigerian political parties raise funding. But what about the integrity of the election itself? For example, cases where candidates at the top end of the ticket pay, or aspirants, obtain the nomination forms for and pay for candidates at the lower rung of the same ticket. So if, for example, I am vying for the presidency, and then I buy like 10 nomination forms for governors, buy like 20 for senators and House of Reps, and so on. Is that not altogether monetizing or increasing the monetization of the election in ways that, like you said, may not be healthy?
I think, Mr. Suleiman, you have made it absolutely clear. If we have a scenario in which politicians who are of means ended up buying nomination form for themselves and then trickling down the process to governors, to local government chairmen, members of the National Assembly, and so on, we are evolving a political system centered around godfatherism, where you find one individual politician exercising absolute control over a whole lot of others. And that has the potential to create a problem for our democracy. Although partnerships, friendships, groupings are allowed in politics, but to a very large extent, every politician should have the opportunity and privilege to exercise some amount of freedom, especially when it comes to the exercise of power and authority, and when it comes to taking decisions for and on behalf of Nigerians. And that is why if you take a look around what is happening in Nigeria today, you find politicians behaving like leaders of cult, asserting themselves over other politicians, suppressing the free will of other politicians even to aspire to contest for elections. You hear politicians claiming, I have sponsored so and so, I have raised so and so, from my enclave, this person was made who he is, and so therefore he doesn't have the privilege to think freely about his personal ambition as a politician, or even to take decisions that have to do with his role as a politician and leader in society. So you are absolutely correct. We have a problem when a large chunk of people cannot afford to take up nomination forms, to take up expression of interest forms on their own, and they ended up being controlled by politicians who have large chunk of money, and it therefore departs from a full democracy to another system where you see absolute control of the hierarchy from the top. People are controlling others down the line. Let me quickly say, like I have said in the beginning, that I have taken account of all the contestants on the platform of the All Progressive Congress. And I can tell you that a significant number of them, let's say 90%, I'm even thinking, even the last person to express his interest, was it Mala Aminu? Who? I think they all have the capacity to generate the support, from the electorate to be able to afford the nomination form. That is not a problem. But when you leave the office of the president, like you rightly said, and then you approach the states and local governments, you see where the dilemma is, where this system of charging exorbitant nomination forms will create a scenario.
50 million for a governor, for
50
example.
million for a governor, for example,
20 million
for Senate, and perhaps 10 million for reps and 2 million.
It's correct.
For
10 million for senators.
It has the potential to exclude quite a number of credible candidates. I have been close to the Osembajo campaign, and I've examined what they do, and I know it is the aspiration of the vice president not to play money politics. So if it were the wish of the vice president, I'm pretty sure he will have aspired for something slightly or even far less than what has been agreed. But he's a loyal party member.
We have just heard now from the Tinubu support group that they are going to buy the form on behalf of their candidate Tinubu. This is perfectly legitimate in politics. How is the vice president going to get his form?
I can't tell you, I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm sure also that there are the opportunities for crowdfunding. It's possible that a large chunk of his supporters, it's possible that friends and associates, remember, he is a professor, he is a cleric, he's a senior advocate of Nigeria with a long-standing period of legal practice. So I think he must have generated quite a number of friends and well-wishers who will equally be able to get the form for him. But I know from his philosophy as a human being and as an intellectual, he will have preferred to underplay the role of money in politics.
Interesting. So, Mr. Abolaji, are you there? Yes, I can see you, but can you hear us?
Very clearly.
Oh, very good. So this brings us to the issue of the primaries themselves. The party decided that you are not going to have a direct primary. You're going to have an indirect primary. Therefore, you're going to be dealing with delegates. How does that sound for your campaign, for example?
Well, that is actually good news, because even the constitution of the APC stipulates it has to be either direct or indirect. And, that gives the opportunities to the aspirants to go out there and test their popularity. If I'm going to quote the president and commander-in-chief, it's good for democracy as well. It's good for the organization as well, which I'm speaking for also, the Tinubu School to School. Because what we are doing is trying to reach out to students, irrespective of political leanings, and we will not deceive ourselves. Many of the youths in Nigeria today, a huge chunk of them are not partisan politicians. Many of them are not interested in politics. So what we are trying to do with the Tinubu School to School is to go in there, speak to them, encourage them to get their PVCs, encourage them to pick a particular candidate.
But how would that help your candidate in a primary election, which is the primary interest now?
Exactly. That's where I'm coming to. Once the delegates who are coming, they realize that there are so many people. It is this particular person they want. This is who they want. This is who they are clamoring for. Then, they will actually need to reach out to them, and they will know what their people want. The delegates are coming. They are representing people. They are representing interest. The candidate we are pushing for, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is not a newbie. He is not a brand that is unknown. Everyone knows him. He has his history, his antecedents, his performances. And, when you look at that, it's excellent, excellent, excellent. So, with the primaries, the delegates are going to be faced. They will have the decision to make because the president and the top echelon of the party has said, we have to put a candidate that is capable of winning the general elections. So that is the guiding rule. That is the guiding vision which we have to put on the person who
we will certainly I will certainly be raising that issue of the candidate who is capable of winning an election later, since I am fortunate to have with me people who are associated with two of the leading candidates in this discussion. So we will be having that discussion later. But maybe, Prof, before we get to that point, maybe we look at that date, the mode of election still. It's not just that they say it's primary, indirect primaries, but also that the party is going to be dealing with up to 7,800 delegates, from various constituencies within the party. So how does it work out for a presidential campaign?
I think, without overemphasizing it, in every political discourse, in emerging democracies, you find that every discussion centers around the selection of credible candidates through a process that is not influenced by money politics. So as far as we are concerned, and of course supporters of the vice president, we had preferred to see either an indirect primary or even a consensus. Consensus has happened over time, in fact, since 1999 in states like Lagos. And so therefore, if someone said he's opposed to a consensus, I don't know whether the process has led to the emergence of good governance for Lagos or not. But here in Abuja, when APC convenes to do the primary election, we are more in support of the indirect than the direct.
Okay.
Because the direct primaries will give an opportunity for delegates to express their conviction, to follow their conscience. You may pay. It happened when His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari was elected. I was witness to the elections in 2015.
Interesting.
Political parties were paying money, but people were going to the polling station to vote for PMB. We expect that will repeat itself in the 2022 convention of the All Progressives Congress.
Yeah.
So an indirect primary will give an opportunity to delegates who have looked at the candidates and have studied their pedigree and have taken a decision to vote the most credible out of them to vote from their conscience.
But Prof, the delegates in question in this case are sometimes controlled by others within the party hierarchy. For example, the governors. Governors have quite a lot of influence on delegates because all members of state houses of assemblies will be delegates. All party commissioners of, except maybe with the new electoral act. Now we don't know how that one will work out later. But party officials, the NWCs across the states, all of them would be delegates. Ward congresses and all of them would be delegates. So how governors have control over these people? How would that work out?
Even at that, I can tell you, Mr. Suleiman, that in the ensuing contests, the governors, the senators, the reps, and all other critical participants and stakeholders in the APC have a clear view as to which candidate has the potential to pull Nigeria through, as to which candidate has the potential to stage a formidable team and a good development plan for Nigeria. And we are optimistic that this will guide the decision of the critical stakeholders in APC, leading them to the choice of the most formidable candidate in the forthcoming primary. And you will see what will happen.
Interesting, because I want to take you on what how you define formidable candidates within the APC. We will come to that. So, Mr. Abolaji, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the one of the issues the Prof raised is that you wouldn't have a consensus candidate as you had in the nomination, in the convention for the election of the party leadership. This time around, you're going to have an open contest for, 7,000. Each candidate will be canvassing for the votes of 7,800 delegates. How does that work for your campaign? Would you have preferred a consensus system or direct primaries, or which one would you prefer, or does this work best?
Well, we would have preferred a system that would actually reflect the wishes of the people. So whether direct, indirect, or even consensus, our candidate, our principal is not scared with who he is. And I want to correct a notion. Our candidate is not depending or really focused more on money politics. You understand? Because for so many years, he has not contested for anything. He's just been there. He's been, supporting the party with his contacts, connections, resources. You can't say someone who has been going around visiting places, doing consultation, and you think that one is depending on his money. If he was depending on money, he doesn't really need to make all those contacts. But he believes in one-on-one. He believes in talking, re-establishing that connection, reminding them, who I am. This is what I want to do, speaking about his plans and his passion. So I think, our candidate being a law-abiding and a Democrat is going to be satisfied. And he said it from the beginning. He said, whatever decision the party has taken, I'm going to abide by it. So now the party has taken a position. I believe our candidate and everyone is okay by it, and we have to play according to the rules of an indirect mode of primaries.
Interesting. So maybe let's move slightly away from the primaries to the issue of the candidates. One key, the slate of candidates. One key observation, one quick observation that anyone can make is that there's been no northern candidates yet, other than Malam Adamu Garba, who's declared interest yesterday or the day before. Most of the other 9 or 10 candidates have come from southern Nigeria. Tinubu, Osinbajo, Rochas Okorocha, Ken Nnamani, Chris Ngege, Amechi, Rotimi Amechi, all of these are from south. Is there a silent zoning system in the APC?
Yeah, I think it's not so silent, Malam Suleiman. I think it's obvious that the body language of the All Progressives Congress point to a definite decision to zone the presidency to the south. Okay. And I think that is why you are seeing this kind of arithmetic emerging, even in terms of the declaration from contestants in the All Progressives Congress. I think there is a pattern, a zoning pattern within the party, and I have a strong feeling the party hierarchy is respecting that.
But does it have any connection with any written laws or any written, agreements or something that will give it some form of solidity,
no,
within the party itself?
No, I had rather call it a gentleman's agreement,
okay,
which has, I think, helped to stabilize political parties and also at the same time stabilize the Nigerian nation. But even at that, you find that, in my opinion, every part of the country has the capacity to produce very credible and formidable candidates who can lead Nigeria. And that is why if candidates from the South declares from the APC, I'm sure we'll have a good choice coming from there. And already it's becoming very obvious to us that we have a very, very formidable and credible candidate emerging in this process of contesting for the APC presidential nomination.
So when we return on break very shortly, we'll be talking about, who will that formidable candidate be on the slate of all the candidates you have in the ruling party. Stay with us. We'll be right back for you.
My name is Tope Fashua. We'll be speaking economics, business, finance, sociology, and politics, all with an aim to contribute our best quota to the upliftment of our fatherland, Nigeria. So what do you think is wrong with our fiscal policy in Nigeria?
A lot of things are wrong. First, I think We have issues with our budgetary plan, which serves as the foundation of the fiscal policy. Federal government's budgetary plan.
Is it true that decentralized banking seeks to eliminate central banking, and how?
Well, in theory, decentralized finance is actually designed to have the potential to eliminate central banking, but I would say decentralized finance is or does not currently have the potential to eliminate central banking.
Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and we're discussing around issues leading to the primary elections of the All Progressive Party Congress, that is the ruling party. And with me are two guests who are insiders in the various party. Mr. Abolaji, can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
I can hear you.
Thank you. So let me start with you this time around. Now we have an APC in which two candidates for the very first time in Nigerian history were having a situation that is happening for the very first time. We're having a godfather and a godson in the same contest at the same time in the same party. What does that mean to your campaign, the Asiaju side?
Okay, I would like us to, rephrase that word of godfather and godson. I don't think that would be fair. Okay. I think it's more about, two different people who want to compete, because even when our principal spoke about his son, he said if he answered, we all know the famous response. He said he doesn't have a son who is old enough to declare for presidency. So, we should not, because once we start saying godfather, godson, we start bringing in some sentiments. You understand? And that can start leading to division even in-house. We don't want that at this stage. So what I'm going to say is we have people who have come out, not just both of them, but other members as well of the party who have come out to show interest. I want to believe that they feel they have what it takes to become president, just as in sports. Politics is a sport as well. You're going to have different people competing, but at the end of the day, there has to be someone that's going to come first, second, or third. But in this case, we are focusing on our own candidate.
Mr. Abolaji, are you saying that the fact that Vice President Yemi Osinbajo was a former commissioner appointed by Tinubu and who worked under Tinubu for 8 years in the Lagos state government between 1999 and 2007, and the fact that that role that he played and that closeness that he had to Tinubu at that time played a key role in his emergence as running mate and eventual vice president of Nigeria to the President Muhammadu Buhari. Are you saying that all these two facts don't matter in this election now that both of them are contesting for the same office?
No, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you say godfather, godson, then it kind of, you tend to tweak it a bit. Because if we have to look at it, if I have somebody who's my godfather and I'm the godson, then this is part of the considerations I will make before I decide to go against him in an election which my father has said is a lifelong ambition. So the moment you decide to go against him, it means you've thrown all those considerations, you throw it out of the window. Yes, it's your right. Everybody knows it's okay for every one of us to go and contest and say, but there are many considerations. I'm sure Babatunde Fashola, Femi Badiabia, they also have what it takes to become president. You know, they are not afraid to come out to say they want to be president. You know, but I'm sure, you know, when you consider so many things, including your long history, you've worked under this person, all these things you mentioned, when you bring all these things together, you know, it might just make you feel, okay, no problem, let me just allow this person. You can go back to, you know, we can just look at Netherlands in America. Was it 2015 or 2016, when they were having the presidential election? Joe Biden, who is the current president, and I was vice president then. Nobody can tell us he wasn't interested. We all know the story. But you know that Hillary Clinton had been gunning for that position. So he stepped back, not because Joe Biden felt he was incapable, not because Joe Biden felt he didn't have what it took to become president, but he realized that, you know what, just let her have been here for 7 years, 8 years, let someone else who take it, not just anybody, but someone with the capability, with the experience, with the wherewithal, with the connections and everything, with resources, to ensure that he can push and he can deliver if he becomes and when he becomes president.
Interesting. So that brings me to your idea of formidability in this election, you know, because one of the issues that observers are raising, particularly in relation to the vice president, is the issue of trust, which is very important in leadership, you know, that there should be trust between the leader and the led. And that if someone can demonstrate openly, you know, that they will betray their own mentors, betray in quotes, you know, not my own words, in this fashion and publicly in this way, what sense can, you know, voters have in trusting such a person?
Thank you very much, Mr. Suleiman. I think we need to make this clear. And I will want to agree with the gentleman from the Tinubu campaign group to say that the whole expressions, the whole concepts around Godson, Godfather, and what have you, are mere expressions in prebendal politics. These are expressions are inimical to the freedom that democracy preaches.
Interesting.
We have no problem absolutely with anybody. And if you look at the track record of the vice president has absolute respect for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The vice president has absolute respect for President Muhammadu Buhari. Whenever he works with his principles, he commits himself, he devotes himself to their service, and he gives them the excellent result. However, in all my sojourn as a student of politics, I have never seen where that precludes an individual with the character and the credentials of Professor Yemi Osinbajo from declaring for the presidency. This man is a teacher, he's a university lecturer who has risen to the rank of professor. This gentleman was a practicing lawyer, is a practicing lawyer who rose to the rank of senior advocate of Nigeria. This man is a politician who served as commissioner and eventually as vice president. It is obvious that the gentleman possesses all the character, the qualification, the pedigree, and the experience to vie for the office. Now, what the issue of trust we are discussing here, it's not as if PYO is contesting for president when Buhari was also willing to contest again in his office. There's no question of betrayal here. There are two gentlemen whom God has joined by fate, one as a governor. We all thought that Bola Ahmed Tinubu invited Professor Yemi Osinbajo to serve in his cabinet because of his qualifications, because of his experience, and what contributions
but
he could make to his government.
Some people say, okay, because of this, I understand about freedom, but the idea of mentoring and mentorship is there in all democracies and in all social contexts, particularly here in Africa. So people are saying, okay, why not, you go this time, right? You may or may not win. I'm younger and I still have more time. Wouldn't that have been a more loyal position?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Although I'm not speaking for the vice president, but one thing I know from my little interactions with some of the people who are closely associated with him, I'm absolutely sure that the vice president has absolute respect for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I'm aware that even the vice president's team have stated clearly that the one who insults Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not with us. However, let me still say that you cannot discount a person occupying the office of the vice president from contesting election. Secondly, if it is true that Alhaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu was a mentor or is still a mentor to the vice president, looking at the scenario we have at the moment, I don't want to speak against anybody, but looking at the scenario, looking at the combination of circumstances, looking at the character of the different candidates and the abilities at their disposal, it will have been wise to insist that the mentor should give an opportunity to the mentee.
Mr. Abolaji, I will throw that question straight to you, because that has also been expressed several times in this campaign, that, okay, if you nominate someone to become vice president, you do so because you are sure of their competencies, you are sure of their qualifications for that office. And the vice president in Nigerian constitutional order is only a heartbeat away from the office of the president. The moment something happens to the president, you know, that person is automatic, the vice president is automatically the president. Indeed, in this particular case, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has in fact been acting president several times in the past. So if there is a mentor-mentee relationship, shouldn't be of the kind, my boy, you have done a good job, carry on.
In some instances, that could actually come in. But let me address one thing he said there. He was talking about the vice president's people, saying anyone who insults Ashiwaju, you know, it's not acceptable. But personally, now I'm speaking for myself as an individual, as a person who values loyalty, who values integrity. I don't think there is any greater insult than deciding to go against somebody who gave you his platform, you know, to rise to the top. So action speaks louder than words. We are not going to dwell on people who are insulting, rather look at those who are insulting through their behaviors. Then to speak about the question you asked now, how long do we want to expect this man, Ashiwaju, to keep, okay, you want to go, I allow you. Oh, you want to contest, I allow you. What about him? Don't we care about what this man wants? Don't we care about his beliefs, his vision? This man was former governor of Lagos. 22 years after he took that oath, we have the American embassy coming to Lagos to tell us we are going to build the biggest embassy in the world at the cost of over $500 million. 22 years after he has left office. But since that time, he has focused on the vision was there. It was a long-term vision with the succession plan there. So why is it always, he came there in 2015. We all know this man was interested. Ashiwaju wanted to become vice president. But they said, no, we can't have a Muslim. He says, okay, let me bring somebody I trust. Oh, you come, stay there, do it. I trust you, you can do it. But everyone, even the vice president, everybody within his close circle, because the vice president is one of the closest people to Ashiwaju. I don't know about now, but he used to be, he was. You know, I can't speak for them now. So there is no way you will tell us you do not know being president is the lifelong ambition of Ashiwaju. So if Ashiwaju gave you the platform 7 years ago to become vice president, 7 years after, you know he's still interested in becoming president, he came out before you to say, I'm interested, I want to run, you know, but you think, oh no, now is the time for us to say mentor, mentee, step back. It's a different issue if you feel Ashiwaju is not capable of being president of Nigeria. It's a different thing if you feel Ashiwaju does not have the prerequisite, he doesn't have the experience, he doesn't have the capability. Ashiwaju has told us, I will be a courageous president. You know, this is what it is. Me, in my honest opinion, I will think anybody from APC who is the president of this administration, this current administration, whatever you want to do as president, why are you not sharing that idea with President Buhari? Are you keeping your ideas until you become president in 2023? I don't think that's fair to President Buhari. I think anybody who is part of this administration should focus. This administration is in its last phases. They need to leave a legacy. They need to leave things that people will point to. And yes, they've done so many things we can point to. But one of these is you people should leave the 2023, you know, for other people in the party who is capable. Those who are capable, especially those who have invested their energy, their resources, and they have been loyal. 100% loyalty. Do you understand? I think it is time to reward loyalty. It is time to give him that opportunity to become president as well. It is time to think about what Asiwaju also wants. 2011, he gave his platform to somebody. 2007, he gave his platform to somebody. 2015, he came with people, and with his influence and support of every other person, they were able to remove a sitting administration, conveniently. When it's 8 years, he has waited 8 years. Come on, let's be fair.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Abulaji. I'm sure our viewers and all Nigerians are hearing you on that very clearly. But maybe we can move on to other issues in this primaries of the APC. One of which is the Electoral Act, the new Electoral Act. One thing that the new Electoral Act requested is, or at least that one is still been there, but that at the states, regardless of what the Electoral Act states, or regardless of the status of the Electoral Act, we have seen a gale of resignations at the state level, where people who are commissioners, who are chiefs of staff to governors, who are advisors to governors, and who are holding positions at respective MDAs, leading MDAs, are resigning their position to freely express their ambition to contest for elective offices at the national or federal. But we don't see a similar thing happening at the federal level. Is there an imbalance?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for the question, Mr. Suleiman. But first, let me just quickly clear some impressions.
Please, go ahead.
You see, becoming president is not all about fulfilling a lifelong ambition.
Okay.
Secondly, it's not about creating opportunity for someone who has been waiting for long to become president. Becoming president is about service to the people. And I am telling you most seriously and most sincerely that people who love Bola Ahmed Tinubu and people who love Yemi Osinbajo and people who love Nigeria have sat down to look at what is before us as a nation moving towards 2023, and they find that it is only for the best of Nigeria that the vice president contests election in 2023. Okay. Now, with respect to the question you have just asked, I think it is a choice of people who have taken federal political appointments. I know that the Electoral Act signed into law by the president recently have made clear stipulations that the one who holds a political appointment must resign so time before the elections. And I don't think, except there is a court order to vacate that position, I don't think that any exemption will be made for any one person by the All Progressives Congress. So as for now, we are right to say that the people in the various states who have made these declarations to actually vacate their offices have taken the right decision.
But there have been a court in Umar here declared that is unconstitutional, and that it should in fact even be deleted in the
that has been
law,
appealed.
Which it's under appeal,
Yes.
but the appeal has not yet been. We don't know the judgment of the appeal court.
But it is a very dangerous position.
Okay.
Assuming the appeal court now finally decided that the Electoral Act ab initio, as amended, was right. Now, what happens to persons who are still holding political office? Of course, it means that they will lose opportunity in 2023 and have a very strong feeling that's what's going to be the case.
Interesting. So, Mr. Abolaji, that's probably our last question on the show. And maybe I should point out that even though the two of you are on the different sides of the campaign at this point, you are still in the same party. So, as party men, how do you see that this working out for you, in the end, particularly in relation to people like Professor Chris Ngige or Chief Roshimi Amechi? What if any one of them emerges the presidential candidate of your party, and then the appeal court decides that this process shouldn't have been, is wrong, is against the electoral law? What happens at the time?
Well, I think that is one of the reasons why our team, our organization, we are focused on an individual who is not coming into the game with that baggage. He's not coming into the game with that risk. Because we know what is going to happen if there is a mistake like that and the court decides against that. But I want to trust the leadership of APC. It's a new team. It's a team with experience. I don't think they will make the mistake of jeopardizing 2023 when they are aware of all the rules. The chairman, just resigned his position. Senator, he was there when all this electoral act was on. The secretary as well, he's aware. Also, the former senator too. And these are core party men. These are people who have been playing politics for so many years. So as well as other members of APC. The APC hierarchy, they have advisors, they have lawyers. So I don't think APC will make the mistake of picking somebody, then when it's time, the opposition party will have to go to court. You understand, then, take
Thank you,
the hard and victory.
Mr. Abolaji Albert, for joining us on this show today. Thank you also, Professor Yauri, for joining us on the show. It's really been interesting having the both of you on the same show. And we hope that some other time we will have you on this show again as we go closer and closer into the 2023 elections. Our goal on this program and in this station is to bring political education and political information and, of course, participation to Nigerian citizens so that they can make the right choices, not only during elections, but after the elections. This is where we come to the end of today's program, and we hope that you join us again for another edition of Daily Politics on Trust TV tomorrow. My name is Suleiman. Goodbye.